Hey, welcome to this informative workshop on doing a successful elimination diet. Okay, so I want to tell you guys the elimination diet is the gold standard in discovering what your food sensitivities are. In this workshop today, you're going to learn why you've been doing it wrong all this time and how to do it the right way. And you'll also learn why you keep having flare-ups despite removing certain foods from your diet. Now, I just want to do a really quick disclaimer before we get started. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nutritionist. I am a functional medicine health coach, which I believe is better, but there are no licenses for that. So I'm just here educating you about what an elimination diet really is and the way we use it to discover food sensitivities, which may not be what you've been taught previously. But please do not substitute any tips you get from me or my website for advice from your doctor. Okay, let's talk about why and how most people do this wrong and why maybe elimination diets haven't worked for you in the past. So there's a couple different misconceptions about elimination diets, and many of them do not share the same goal as this one. Sometimes when we do an elimination diet, it's hard for me to say elimination. Sometimes when we do an elimination diet, we're assuming that there's one food that's not agreeing with us. Just that like one magic bullet that's upsetting the stomach. And then when we remove that one food, all will be well, right? But hey, if you're really lucky, that's true. But it's not usually the case. By the time a normal person gets around to trying an elimination diet, they're usually in so much pain that their IBS really has more than one cause. And it's usually not even limited to foods. Usually there's a foreign invader swimming around in their gut too. In this case, which is the most common, the elimination diet is only the first step in finding relief. So that's the first common mistake. We assume it's a simple problem and we only remove one food. And then when there's little to no change, we come to the conclusion that elimination diets don't work for us, and that's that. Well, of course it's not going to work if you're not even doing it, right? Okay, second mistake, we remove all of the appropriate foods, but we only do it for a few days or a few weeks. Newsflash, it takes up to 4 months for the immune system to forget about a food sensitivity and stop producing antibodies to it. So that's how long we need to stay away from a food before we can return to it again, hopefully without a reaction. Right? When you return to the food, you don't want a reaction, right? But this is not possible if you eat even a crumb of the food that you're eliminating. Which takes us to our next common mistake. We figure we can eat a bite or two of the food that we're eliminating and that won't change anything. Well, guess what? If you have antibodies to a particular food and you eat a crumb of that food, you will set off a cascade of elimination that can last for up to 3 days. And then you have to restart your elimination diet, right? So if you're getting rid of a food for 4 months and you have a bite of it, your 4 months just started over. And I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I mean, I hope it's real tasty and it's worth it, because that's a lot of trouble to go through that many times, I think. Anyway, before I understood this little fact, I used to drink decaf coffee some mornings before I understood the fact that like if you eat one bite, it's going to set off this cascade of inflammation. I used to drink decaf coffee a couple mornings a week with just about like 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon of cream in it. On the days I did that, I would have diarrhea, like screaming diarrhea for the rest of the day from 1 teaspoon of cream. So I want you to learn from my mistakes. When we eliminate a food, we're eliminating a food, not one crumb. That crumb will restart the antibody building process, and you'll have to start over from scratch, avoiding that food for 4 months from the day that you ate the crumb. If you want to be successful with this, that's how it has to be. The next mistake, or I guess this one is a common misconception, we think all food sensitivities last forever. So this one is actually like, I have good news for you. Okay, so this is what we think. Okay, I took a test and I'm sensitive to broccoli and cauliflower, and now I just I can't eat broccoli or cauliflower for the rest of my life. It's not true. It's not true. This is the good news. Not all food sensitivities have to last forever. Some will last forever because those foods on their own create painful gut issues. I'm thinking of things like wheat and dairy here. Gluten has a tendency to cause leaky gut, and pasteurized and processed dairy is hard for us to digest because all the beneficial bacteria and enzymes needed to digest it have been killed in the processing of it. Most other things, though, we should be able to eat again after this whole thing is over. So yay, that's good news, right? So I hear all the time from people who have tried eliminating foods from their diet and they still keep having flare-ups. First of all, these people don't understand the point of an elimination diet, which is to discover food sensitivities and recover from those food sensitivities so that they can eat again. But also, they're doing some or all of these common mistakes. They're not removing all of the sensitive foods at the same time, and they're adding foods back in too soon. They're not doing the next step, which is removing pathogens from the gut so that the irritation can go away. Let me explain. Frequently, both foods and pathogens or a gut bacteria imbalance is causing irritation in the gut. And just removing the foods will give some relief, but it won't do the whole job. So this is the problem. They're not repairing the gut. Sorry, another problem. They're not repairing the gut. This is what happened with me years ago, actually. I removed pathogens. I removed sensitive foods, but I didn't know about gut repair, which we'll get to later in this video. But without gut repair, your gut will remain leaky. And the foods that you eat most, now that you're on the elimination diet, will cause you to develop more food sensitivities. So this is how I developed a food sensitivity to eggs. And I developed this food sensitivity to eggs while I was on an elimination diet. I'd been killing pathogens and avoiding sensitive foods for months, but I hadn't started doing any gut repair. So I started to have IBS symptoms again. I was starting to be constipated and I didn't understand it. Like, where is this coming from? I thought I was doing everything right? Well, I figured out after doing a food sensitivity test that my antibodies to eggs were way off the chart. And the thing is, during that time, I was eating almost exclusively eggs. And so it makes sense that if I'm not repairing my gut, so you can take away the things that are doing the damage, and that's good. But then you have to repair the damage or your gut is still going to be leaky. Okay. So I want to emphasize that I'm not casting any blame to people making these same mistakes, because I made each and every one of them myself before I started studying functional medicine. My egg sensitivity developed under the care of an integrative physician. These things happen. I'm here to educate you so that you can check yourself and see if this is something you may have done in the past, and for sure avoid making these mistakes in the future. And that same thing from the previous slide. We think one bite won't hurt. Well, that one bite reminds your immune system to make more antibodies to that food and to send inflammation to attack it. And we don't want that, or the headache and the brain fog and the sprint to the toilet that's going to result from it, right? There are a few things I want to talk about here. First, just to explain what we're doing here and what our goals look like with an elimination diet. So you should expect the whole process of an elimination diet to last roughly 4 months if you follow it strictly. It is possible to mess up and maybe have to start over or have a setback or two, and that's okay. So we eliminate all common inflammatory foods. It's basically an autoimmune paleo diet. The recipes I include in the program should be very helpful for you here. If you're aware of any other foods that you are personally sensitive to, go ahead and eliminate those as well. Keep in mind that if they show up in any of the program's recipes, you can still make the recipes and just skip the ingredients you're sensitive to. It's not going to make that much of a difference in the recipe. If you're unsure, if you're sensitive to certain foods, it's not a problem. You can figure it out pretty easily. Just check out the food sensitivity skin test bonus module in this program for tips on how to figure it out for free at home on your own. So, I bet you're wondering what you do eat on an elimination diet. So we've covered what to avoid, right? But what's left? So, okay, we're going to try and include plenty of nourishing foods like colorful, organic vegetables, quinoa, and brown rice, and grass-fed, free-range meats. We're basically following an autoimmune paleo diet here. So if you prefer to eat vegan, you can totally adopt it to your liking by finding autoimmune vegan recipe ideas. Some of the ones included in the program actually are animal product free or easily adapted to be that way. It's totally up to you. Now, that's where most elimination diets stop, right? Eat this, don't eat that. Feel better? Great, done. But this elimination diet has a different goal. Our goal is really to eliminate leaky gut and get you back to eating some of your favorite foods. So we're going to keep going here and we're going to remove pathogens so that your gut doesn't keep getting irritated. Is this making sense? We're moving all irritation from your gut, irritating foods, irritating pathogens, and irritating bacterial imbalances. Because if you have an imbalance or a pathogen, no measure of diet change alone will eliminate the irritation in your gut. With diet change alone, chances are pretty good that you will never find relief from your IBS, or that the relief that you do find is going to be temporary. So this is a big deal, and I do not recommend skipping it. And it's probably why, if you've done elimination diets in the past, it's probably why they didn't work. Why you kind of went, okay, well, I felt better for a little while, and then I kept doing it, and then I started to have symptoms again. That's why you're not eliminating the irritations. Well, you're eliminating some of the irritations, but not all of them. And so then the issues come back. So now it's time to remove pathogens. But what pathogens, right? Okay, everybody's going to be different here. You can get really far by just guessing what pathogens you have, and you'll see how in just a minute. But if you're sort of at the start of your journey with this whole thing, you might not have tried anything like this yet, and you might still be discouraged from doing a stool test because of the added cost, and that's okay. Maybe you've done some research on candida symptoms and you're pretty sure that's what it is. Maybe you recently had a bad bout of food poisoning, or you travel outside of the country, or you know how easy it is to get a parasite from just doing simple everyday tasks like petting your dog or gardening. But then you might be at the point where you just want to figure this out once and for all already, and you're totally ready to do the comprehensive stool test to see exactly what's going on in your gut that's making life so difficult. And if that's you, please refer to the information on stool testing from my Informed and Empowered Patient Workshop, or you can just email me for assistance and I can order the test and get it sent to you and even help you interpret the results. My email is right here on the slide, Lori@loriseeley.com. So I do prefer to move pathogens with natural antimicrobials. There are two brands that I've worked with in the past and from which I've seen really good results. Those products are Young Living's Parafree to fight parasites and Metagenics Candibactin AR and BR for SIBO parasites and Candida. The directions to take them are right there on the bottle. Usually a person needs to take them for about 3 to 4 months and then must retest to see if that did the trick. Now, if you decide to use the Metagenics product and you'd like to order them through me, I can get you a 20% discount. Now, I spent years buying these exact products before I was a health coach through my health practitioner with no discount. And this stuff is not cheap. And while he was making crazy money off commissions, I am not okay with doing that same thing to you. By now you know me a little and you trust me, and you have to get these products through a provider to make sure that they're not old or counterfeit or something. And I'm not okay with gouging you on full price products. So all of my clients get 20% off. And here's how to do that. You call Metagenics at the number that's right there, 1-800-692-9400, and you tell them that you're my client and you get a 20% discount. And my affiliate code is L Seeley. Have that handy, and they'll ask you for it. It's that easy. They're going to help you create your account, and you'll be connected to my provider account, and you'll receive 20% off on whatever you order through that account. Easy peasy. Now, I have to tell you here that I always tell people just call and they'll set up the account for you, but then it always turns out that people will just go online and do it themselves. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I've never had to. So just know that that's an option as well. And if you can't figure it out, the phone number totally works. Okay. So I want to be very clear on just how important this step is, because most people skip it. And it's one of the major reasons why elimination diets end up not working. And people suffer with IBS for life, which can have so many downstream effects of disease like chronic inflammation, leaky gut, and autoimmunity. It's why when people try to add foods back into their diet, they're not able to do it, because with pathogens, the gut stays irritated and leaky, and you actually will acquire more food sensitivities, not less. So here's what happens when we skip this step and don't remove pathogens. The pathogen, whether it's candida overgrowth, parasites, worms, whatever, it stays around irritating the gut. So the gut stays leaky no matter how much gut repair you do, and you become sensitive to whatever foods you eat most, and your immune system becomes extra worked up and freaked, reacting to everything it sees, even perfectly healthy foods and your body's own tissues. This is not a good scenario. Now, a lot of people get stuck in this too, where they take all of those gut repair mucilaginous herbs and they're not removing pathogens. You're wasting your money and your time taking those herbs before you remove the pathogens as well. When we remove pathogens, though, the gut and the immune system have a chance to calm down. And then we take the opportunity to repair the gut and plug the leaks. And later on down the road, we reintroduce some of the healthy foods that our immune system doesn't like right now. The next step is gut repair. So, after we've fixed the balance by removing pathogens, we start to repair the gut. Here's typically what we use for gut repair, all while still on the autoimmune paleo diet and avoiding any additional foods that you're sensitive to. We use mucilaginous herbs to support mucosal layer regeneration. So the mucosa is the innermost tissue layer of the small intestines, and it's a mucous membrane that secretes digestive enzymes and hormones. This has been damaged, causing poor digestion, leaky gut, and we need to support it with herbs that will help to rebuild it. We also use L-glutamine to heal the villi in the gut for better nutrient absorption and to repair leaky gut. Villi are the tiny carpet-like structures in the lining of the digestive tract that form the tight junctions in the barrier between the gut and the rest of the body. When we nurture the villi, they become healthier and better able to do the important job of keeping undigested food out of the bloodstream and in the gut where it belongs. Probiotics are also a very important part of gut repair. By taking probiotic supplements, we're not only playing a huge role in restoring balance in the microbiome, but also calming the gut and the immune system, which helps to downregulate zonulin production and stop the triggers for leaky gut. Remember, we talked about zonulin in the Informed and Empowered Patient Masterclass, right? So zonulin is triggered by gluten and also other foreign invaders to open up the tight junctions in the gut lining and allow moisture to flood into the gut, causing diarrhea in order to flush out the toxins. This is a useful thing in a normal world where foreign invaders only show up sporadically, like every once in a while, right? But when we have somewhat continuous production of zonulin, we end up with all of the symptoms of IBS. Anything that removes triggers for zonulin and calms the gut is welcome here. Make sure you don't get too excited and start this step too soon. Okay? I gotta move my head now and click down here. Okay. First, we work on removing pathogens for at least 4 weeks, and we make sure you have significant improvement in symptoms before we start doing the mucilaginous herbs and all this stuff to repair the gut. Mucilaginous herbs and probiotics are meant to feed beneficial bacteria and build up the mucus layer. If you do this step too soon, the herbs and the probiotics will be food for the pathogens instead. That's the candida parasites, or the wrong bacteria, right? Which is, they'll make your IBS symptoms much worse. So let me say that again better. If you do this step too soon, the herbs and the probiotics are going to be food for pathogens, which are candida parasites or just the wrong bacteria. And that's going to make your IBS symptoms worse. Okay, so whoops. So we want to avoid that happening, which is why we want to remove pathogens for at least 1 month before we start these supplements. So what kind of happens is we remove a little bit of pathogens, we do some gut repair. Then we remove more pathogens, do more gut repair. It's like that. My favorite products for gut repair are the Designs for Health GI Revive and Metagenics Glutagenics. Both of these are a blend of mucilaginous herbs and a base of L-glutamine for ease. This is great because this stuff is not cheap and you can get both products in one. So this is awesome. The instructions on how to take them both are on the packaging. Also, Ninja Red by Young Living works for gut repair, but with different ingredients. It's got wolfberry juice and essential oils, and they work together to nourish not only the gut, but also the entire body. This would be my choice for those who are not fighting a candida overgrowth, just because it does have plum juice in it, which is not recommended on the anti-candida diet. And if your deal is candida, I can help you with that too. If you find out that that's the case, email me, Lori@loriseeley.com. Anyway, it's important with this step to be really patient, the repair step. It does take a while. Depending on where you started out and how well you follow the steps, it can take as little as 4 months up to a lot longer than that. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I know when I'm done? Well, it never hurts to retest. In fact, I encourage it. You can get a second stool test through me when you feel ready to retest, or you can do that through your doctor, whichever way you want to do it. Another way to tell how well you're doing is to redo the food sensitivity skin test and see if you're ready to start reintroducing foods. Make sure you get support for this in my private Facebook group, the Guts and Glory Galley. You can talk about all of the embarrassing things happening in your body in that group, because everybody in that group has been in your shoes, and many of them will be going through this program right along with you. In the Guts and Glory Galley, we put embarrassment and TMI aside, and we share what's going on so we can get help. Now, get excited, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. After you've done the elimination diet and removed pathogens and repaired your gut, you'll be ready to reintroduce some of your favorite foods back into your diet. And that is when the real magic happens. But that's another lesson altogether. Remember to take notes and rewatch this video regularly. Do not think that you've memorized this entire lesson after watching it just once or even twice. Rewatch it every week or two. We all fall into a groove when starting new habits, and we think we're following one path when we've actually forgotten something very important. So rewatch this. Take notes in the workbook. Stick to it. This works. Your next step is to reintroduce foods. You might want to go ahead and watch that lesson now just so you can prepare yourself mentally, or you may want to wait until you're finished with the elimination diet step and you're actually ready to start reintroducing foods. Totally up to you. Thanks for listening and watching the video. I want to take this opportunity to honor you and your desire to improve your health naturally without using prescription meds to cover up your symptoms. Lord knows I've done it that way before, and it only makes things worse. Good luck with this. Please, if you need help, go over to the Guts and Glory Galley Facebook group and get support. No issue is too TMI for us.